Hi, it's Myrna. Thanks for joining me in the studio. This is part 2 of the video I just posted. Apparently someone else wants to say hi. I had intended to include this information in that video, but it was getting too long. And probably this one will be too long as well. So the two combined were bound to be really long. This one is about my crossover project, my intentions in terms of creativity for the next year, and probably just a few thoughts here and there. I haven't totally planned it out. I just know I'm talking about this. So what am I wearing? Not sure how far back I can get here. The blouse is from an earlier video, the one where I gave up on buttonholes and just sewed the buttons straight through. It is Butterick 5786. The jeans are a pattern that I made from a pair of ready-to-wear Oscar pants that I bought at a consignment store, and they have become my absolute favorite. At the very end, I will put in, honestly this time I will, a slideshow of some of the inspiration photos that I'll be working with over the next year to just have a lot of fun with my creativity and with clothing. So, let me tell you about my crossover project. To sum up what I'm working towards in just a short little phrase would be attention to detail. I've been watching a lot of year-end roundup and plans for the next year videos, and I think that's really fascinating to watch how other people approach their creativity. I can't make specific plans. As soon as I do that, I feel like I'm being told what to do by myself. I tend to set directions. The other thing is I do not currently have a large wardrobe. I've never had a large wardrobe, and I can't see myself having a large wardrobe. I like to wear my clothes as much as possible, and I only keep clothes I will actually wear. That said, there are special occasion garments in my very tiny wardrobe, and they don't get worn except on special occasions. There aren't too many of those, although it can be really fun to sew something that you have no intention of wearing. I wouldn't, but I've never sewn a wedding gown. That would be like a very interesting journey, but no, maybe a formal dress with a, anyway, I detour. My intention for this year is to continue with basics because we all need them. Back in blogging, I blogged for about 15 years, and at one point there was this phrase about cake and frosting. Cake was the basics, you know, your black t-shirt and your blue jeans. Frosting was the glamorous things. I'm not really a frosting type girl, like frosting as in sparkly. My frosting is more architectural lines. I love seams, I love pressing them, I love top stitching them. I like playing with the direction of, say, a striped fabric. While I was sorting my patterns, I was looking for the perfect project that kind of wrapped that up, where it was a basic, but it also had these architectural details, and I was going to be able to focus in on them and just enjoy the making and pressing and stitching and top stitching journey. I picked this one, Simplicity 9471, and then things went a little sideways. I chose this pattern, I looked at the line drawing and all the seams, and made decisions about how I would do things, where I would maybe alter it a bit, or maybe I would follow the pattern. Either way, I was looking forward to making it. And then yesterday, I opened the package and got a bit of a surprise. I did not think that I had sewn this pattern. And then I found these, which are my trace pattern pieces, complete with adjustments, as well as notes about when I sewed it. Not only have I sewn this pattern, I've sewn it 3 times. I know it's shocking. And I didn't remember. Apparently it did not impress me. When I read this note in particular, then I remembered about them. I remembered that they felt really constrained through the thighs. I've gotten used to having more ease because of how I'm adjusting for my hip injury and trying to find that balance between too much ease and not enough. I'm sorry, she really requires a lot of attention today. We'll have to work with it. What was I saying? When I made the line pants, when I showed you the line pants in the last video, I could see that they were too big in the hip. From walking the dog, I have lost about an inch and a half on my hips, and I don't like too much ease. I like a shape that will skim the bump and that will have enough ease to move. But if I have too much ease, I'm already very curvy, and that just ends up making me look heavy. These ones, it wasn't so much in the hip area that I felt it, but through the thigh. Like the fabric was always pulling too tight across the front of the thighs. So that was a bit of a surprise. Like I said, I was so unimpressed that I didn't even remember sewing it, which means that this is going in the garbage and this is going to the thrift store. And then I picked another pattern, actually two. I took her out for a walk and now she's playing with her ball. The thump thump is slightly less, well, quite a bit less annoying than the barking and jumping. So hopefully that works. As I was saying, I picked two patterns. I couldn't find one that encapsulated what I wanted, so I picked two to make an outfit. For the bottoms, just regular denim, and for the top, this beautiful polyester rayon with paisleys. Paisley is my favorite motif. I wanted a combination of pushing, stretching the boundaries a little, and the comfort of something familiar that I knew worked well. This pattern is from the sewing workshop. I have been so surprised with this return to fashion sewing by two things: that companies like this, that were among the first indie patterns that were released, they have some phenomenal patterns, and yet I hardly ever hear them mentioned. And the other thing that totally shocks me is the seeming animosity towards the Big Four. I don't know if there's politics behind that. I don't really care to know. I just know that they have been around supporting my sewing my entire life, from when I was 12 years old till now. I love that I can just go to my local store and look through the patterns and choose them and take them home with me. And it's so easy. It's in there, it's folded, it's printed, it's everything. And there, from what I have discovered, is really no difference. I have to alter this to fit my body, just like I have to alter this to fit my body. There is no magic bullet of a pattern. One thing I will say is that when you look at a designer, so in, say, Vogue or Butterick, where you see patterns designed by specific individuals, the body type of that individual may have an influence. There are some designers that their shape just is not my shape, and so the patterns are less likely. But the ones that are drafted with the very same base for simplicity, McCall's, Butterick, Vogue, New Look, they're all very interchangeable, and I make basically the same adjustments to all patterns no matter who designed them. So I'm a little confused by that. It's not a political fight I want to get into if that's what it is, but I am a little confused. Detour aside, I have sewn the trio pants from the sewing workshop several times. They have French seams down the front and back. They have very large pockets on the side here. I don't want to do those this time. I want to just create sort of a slit like what was in the previous simplicity pattern. I've done these before where I did hand stitching along the seams. I really love those. I'm not sure if I'll do that again, but I'll do something. I wanted a win and a stretch. So I've never sewn the trio pants in denim. Hopefully it should, based on the weight of this and what I've sewn before, work out well. And then I chose this simplicity pattern that I have not sewn before. When I opened it, there are no pattern pieces in there. It has this view here, let me see, B. View B has elastic at the waist. I have been trying to alter how I'm styling my clothes to see if I can try tucking in or, half tuck or something like that. And I'm finding it very uncomfortable. I feel like my whole butt end is on display. I'm quite short-waisted. I have a very thin string of a waistline, and then I immediately curve right out like a little lollipop on a stick. And I feel like it's going big butt, big butt, big butt when I tuck things in. It probably isn't, but that's how I feel. So I thought this one with the elastic at the waist might be something to try to see if a little bit of definition in the waist, perhaps even a belt at some point, would give me the same idea as the tucking in, but being slightly different. When I look at this pattern, I know for sure that I will not like the keyhole neckline. I will not like the strings hanging down from the neckline. I am debating whether I would like that tiny little ruffle there. I'll leave that for the future. But the sleeves that she's wearing in the model picture, that's something I'd like to try. These ones have a couple pleats at the back here, and they're very slim otherwise, but the length, I really like the length. So this is my stretch, new sleeves, new pattern with elastic around the waist. And this is my win, familiar pattern, let's play with the details. These are my crossover project, and I'm quite excited about that. And considering that it is 4 o'clock on December 31st, and we are close to bedtime, close to crossing over, I'll probably start with the jeans and work on that. I wanted to put in here some inspiration photos. I really like, as I've said before, architectural clothing with interesting details. I've been collecting photos, and because I don't want a large wardrobe, and I really want to enjoy the process of creating my clothes, the idea of taking some of these inspirations and incorporating them into the work that I am doing I'm really looking forward to that. The slideshow will be at the end. It's paced at 6 seconds per image, so if that's too slow for you, you can go into the little cog there and speed things up. I've had people want it slower, I've had people want it faster. It loads at 6 seconds per picture, and leaving it there is the easiest thing to do. My intention for the new year, my collage was very calm. It had the 3 areas that I love to work in, which are basketry, knitting, and clothing. In addition to that, this is a year when I really want to focus in on personal health. I look at that as 7 areas because I write in my journal about one of those areas every day. So creative, emotional, financial, intellectual, physical, relational, and spiritual. Health-wise, it is time for me to be having a regular exercise program and to be eating much better. I have said this for years, decades. Having the dog has made a significant help to that. I don't want to sew at a fast pace. Even if I made 1 garment a week, that would be 52 new garments, and that is more garments than I currently have in my wardrobe, and I don't wear my entire wardrobe. So it's important to me to spend the time on the details and to create balance between my making in terms of my professional making, my personal making, and the rest of my life, and to incorporate some things that have been missing. One is getting back to reading, another is the regular exercise, starting to do a little bit of strength training and flexibility stretching, learning to designing a diet that is healthy all over, and just generally setting myself up to become a very good, well put together little old lady who is going to be active in sewing and creative until her very last breath. So let me share my inspiration with you. I know I said it in the last video, but I wish you a wonderful new year, and I am so very grateful for sharing my journey. Thank you so much. Take care and see you in 2026.